The rise of China is the biggest lie in modern history. The Chinese dream is officially dead. Forget the fake GDP numbers. China's economy just smashed into a concrete wall, and the devastation is catastrophic. The middle class is being wiped out in a historic wealth reset. Life savings are evaporating, the social contract is shredded, and billionaires are fleeing the sinking ship. This isn't a slowdown. It is a collapse that will shatter the global economy. The panic is real, the money is gone, and the nightmare is here. Are you ready for the terrifying truth? Sign number 7. The confidence crisis. We start our countdown with the most intangible sign, but it might be the most deadly one. For 75 years, the Chinese people had an almost religious belief that tomorrow will be better than today. They were willing to tolerate corruption, pollution, and censorship because the deal was clear. We are moving forward. That belief is shattered. The chaotic end to zero COVID, the crackdown on the private sector, Jack Ma, EdTech gaming, the raid on foreign consulting firms, the erratic policy shifts, it has all created a climate of deep, pervasive fear. Entrepreneurs are scared to invest. Why build a business if the party can take it away tomorrow? Consumers are scared to spend. Why buy a house if the market is rigged? Graduates are scared to try. Why work if there is no reward? This crisis of confidence is a self-fulfilling prophecy. An economy runs on trust. When trust evaporates, the gears grind to a halt. The government issues order after order to boost confidence, but you cannot legislate optimism. The middle class feels betrayed. They played by the rules and the game changed. Now it gets worse. Now they are cynical, defensive, and preparing for a long, cold winter.
So imagine your wealth, 60% of your wealth is falling in value. That causes what we call a negative wealth effect, which means that as your wealth levels fall, you're also less likely to spend, right? It reduces your marginal propensity to consume.
For investors, this is something to watch. Drop a comment below. Do you trust the economic numbers coming out of China? And click that subscribe button because we are going back to the countdown right now. Sign number 6. The local debt hidden iceberg. While everyone watches the property developers, the real financial crisis is hiding in the local governments. For decades, Chinese cities paid for everything. Subways, parks, high-speed rail, massive stadiums. By selling land to developers, it was a magic money machine. But now developers are broke and aren't buying land. The magic money machine has stopped. The result? Local governments are drowning in debt. We are talking about local government financing vehicles, or LGFVs, a shadow debt mountain estimated at $9 trillion or more. Nobody knows the real number because it's all off the books. And now the bill is due. Cities are broke. They're slashing salaries for civil servants. They're cutting bus services. They are turning off street lights. In some places, they are even fining restaurants for selling cucumbers without a license just to raise cash.
There are actually quite a few Chinese companies that are through this, very unusual mechanism listed on US exchanges. I mean, at least 1,000, I don't know the exact number, and significantly invested in as well by Americans and others.
This is the fiscal collapse at the ground level. The middle class relies on these services. They rely on the stability of the local state. And now they are watching their cities crumble financially. This forces Beijing into an impossible choice. Bail out of the cities and print trillions of yuan, causing massive inflation and currency collapse, or let them default and cause a financial crisis. There is no good option. But before you panic, it gets even worse. Sign number 5. The capital flight exodus. Do you want to know what people truly believe? Then don't listen to what they say. Watch where they put their money. And the money is screaming, get out. China is experiencing a massive wave of capital flight. We are talking hundreds of billions of dollars trying to escape the country every year. The wealthy elite, the ones who know the system best, are moving their assets to Singapore, to Dubai, to Tokyo, to US. They are buying gold. They're using crypto. They're using underground banks. They are doing anything to get their wealth out of yuan and into dollars. Why? Because they know the party is over. They see the arbitrary crackdowns. They see the common prosperity wealth redistribution rhetoric. They see the property cash, and they are voting with their wallets. But it's not just the billionaires. The upper middle class is trying to leave too. Look at the surge in Chinese migrants showing up at the US-Mexico border. Look at the run philosophy, the rongshu, the internet slang for figuring out how to emigrate.
As economists, we always look to barometers or early signals, right, of where a particular phenomenon is headed. So where would Chinese consumer spending or consumption spending be like for 2025 for this year? There are a few indicators, right, early indicators.
This is a vote of no confidence in the Chinese century. When your most successful productive citizens are desperate to leave, your system is broken. So guys, quickly hit that like button if you want to know more about China's future, and let's continue the countdown. And yes, capital flight is draining the country, but what you're about to see next is a mathematical certainty that ensures China cannot recover. It is a ticking time bomb that is already detonated, and no amount of government money can fix it. Sign number 4. The population bomb has detonated. We used to worry about China's overpopulation. Now the problem is the exact opposite. China is shrinking, and it's shrinking fast. The population bomb has officially detonated. Deaths now outnumber births. The fertility rate has collapsed to one of the lowest in the world, far below the replacement level. In big cities like Shanghai, the fertility rate is lower than Tokyo or Seoul. It is basically zero. This isn't just a social problem, it's an economic death sentence. China is getting old before it gets rich. Every year, millions of workers retire and fewer workers enter the labor force to replace them. The pension system is a ticking time bomb. Who's going to pay for the hundreds of millions of elderly people? The shrinking lying flat youth generation? The math doesn't work. The demographic dividend, the endless supply of cheap labor that built the world's factory, is gone. Labor costs are rising and the workforce is shrinking. The dependency ratio is exploding. This guarantees that China's growth will slow down forever. You cannot grow an economy when your consumer base is dying off and your workforce is disappearing. This is a structural crisis that no amount of government stimulus can fix. You can print money, but you cannot print babies. But while the rest of the world has been fighting inflation, China is fighting a much scarier monster. Which brings us to sign number 3, the deflation doom loop. Prices in China are falling. The consumer price index has been hovering near zero or dipping into negative territory for months.
China hasn't really resorted to those sort of measures. Rightly or wrongly, the impact of that is that consumer sentiment in China is still relatively muted and consumption growth is still quite weak.
Producer prices, what factories charge, have been falling for nearly 3 years straight. Now you might think, great, cheaper stuff. That's wrong. Deflation is the kiss of death for an indebted economy. Think about it. If you know a car will be 10% cheaper next month, did you buy it now? No, you wait. And when you wait, the car company sells fewer cars, so they cut wages. Then you have less money, so you wait even longer. It is a doom loop. The Chinese consumer is on strike. Retail sales are pathetic. The revenge spending that was supposed to happen after COVID, it's lasted for about 5 minutes. Now we are seeing a consumption downgrade. People aren't buying Starbucks, they're buying instant coffee. They aren't buying iPhones, they're keeping their old phones for 4 years. They aren't buying new clothes, they're shopping on discount apps like Pinduoduo. This is catastrophic because Beijing's entire economic plan was to pivot from building bridges and factories to a consumer-led economy. They needed the middle class to spend like Americans, but the middle class is refusing to cooperate. They're scared, they're broke, and they're saving every penny because they know the storm is coming. The engine of economy has stalled, and there is no restart button. Which brings us to sign number 2, the lying flat rebellion. If the economic data is destroying the wealth of the middle class, this next sign is destroying its soul. Meet the lying flat generation.
躺平嘛，就下班了就在家里躺着打游戏啊。
就包括我们现在这一代，我的身边的同学啊什么的，基本上都比较认可这种思想概念，比较少会有那种想要去拼搏啊、去创业或者这种精神。
But first, what does it mean to lie flat in China? For their parents, the deal was simple. Work hard, study hard, get a degree, and you will have a better life. But for China's youth, the most educated generation in its history, that promise has been broken. Youth unemployment is so bad that the government is literally stopping publishing the data for months because it was too embarrassing.
The unemployment rate among urban youth in China, so that's those between ages 16 and 24 who are not students, rose to 18.9% in August.
When they finally brought it back with adjusted methodologies, it was still a disaster. Real estimates put it over 20%. Some independent analysts say it's closer to 50% if you count those who have given up looking. Why? Because the jobs aren't there. The high-paying tech jobs, crushed by regulatory crackdowns. The finance jobs, vanishing. The manufacturing jobs, moving to Vietnam or Mexico. So the youth are revolting, but they aren't marching into the streets. They're doing something far more dangerous to the regime. They're quitting. They are lying flat, tang ping. They are letting it rot, bailan. They are refusing to get married, refusing to buy houses, refusing to have children, refusing to participate in the rat race that fuels the economy. This is a silent strike by the entire future workforce of the country. You cannot build a superpower when your youth have decided that the game is rigged and they refuse to play. And here we are, the number one sign that the Chinese middle class is cracking. This is where we explain everything else. So, without further ado, sign 1, the property wealth incinerator. 70%. That is the percentage of Chinese household wealth tied up in real estate. In the US, it's maybe 30%. In China, it is everything. Your retirement, your child's education fund, your status, your safety net. It is all poured into concrete boxes in the sky. For decades, this was a sure bet. Prices only went up. It was the forever boom. But that boom was a Ponzi scheme built on debt. And it has finally collapsed. We aren't just talking about Evergrande or Country Garden going bankrupt. We're talking about the complete destruction of the middle class's primary asset. In Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, prices haven't just cooled. They have crashed by 30%, 40%, even 50% in real terms. Imagine you spend 30 years saving every yuan, eating bitterness, working 996 just to buy an apartment for your son so he could get married. And now, that apartment is worth half of what you paid for it. Or worse, it's an unfinished rot-tail building that will never be completed. Billions of square meters of housing are sitting empty. There are ghost cities that will never be filled. This is a wealth incinerator. Trillions of dollars of perceived wealth have simply vanished. When 70% of your net worth disappears, you don't spend money. You panic, you hoard, you stop believing in the future. The government is trying to put a floor on the prices, banning people from selling too low. But that just means the market is frozen. Nobody can sell and nobody wants to buy. The liquidity is gone. And the middle class? They're trapped in a burning building with no exits. And that's just how it is. So, if this deep dive into the hidden crisis of the Chinese middle class shocked you, smash that like button, drop a comment on whether you think the Chinese economy can ever recover, and subscribe, because the next video reveals even more secrets that would smack you to your bone.